So part two to this, sorry. Just got chatting to my neighbour. Don't want to be rude. Alfie was adamant, he was saying, oh boy, bringing people together. So sometimes I'm worried because cars come flying down this road and I'm afraid of people hitting them, you know. Jumping all over the place when he meets a new person. If I sound a bit harsh. He can be like a headless chicken sometimes. But yeah, I was just talking about, basically for my opinions, I have literally been called both extremes. Like, I'm a xenophobe and I'm a racist on one hand, but then, you know, I'm a white liberal who loves foreign people while apologising on behalf of all white people. Gonna make a video talking about that. The power's down at the minute here, so I'm gonna share my screen with you and I'm gonna show you exactly what people have said to me, so you can see for yourselves. I just think it shows you how ignorant lots of people are. As I say, you marginalise any group, and I was talking about Bumpy Johnson and Frank Lucas. The movie with Frank Lucas is Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe. Just if you're looking for a good film, it is quite good. Denzel Washington, of course, playing the aforementioned Frank Lucas, who came after Bumpy Johnson. But Bumpy Johnson died in 1968 when it's believed that the mass lynch mobs were going around, and like that's fucking horrible. You know, I looked up a stat that said from 1877 to 1950, when Jim Crow laws were outlawed in the deep south of the US. And I've done my own research on this, you know, so you can tell me that I'm Irish and I don't know anything. You can tell me I'm ignorant and you can shite on all you want. I've done my research. And if there's any Americans in the comments who know more, let me know, sure. And show me the article. Don't just come out with a load of rhetoric, like calling mixed race people cappuccino gangbangers. Like, what a fucking idiot. Like, hey, for real. We all know what you're like anyway. No wonder you've got no pictures of your face or videos. Because you know what people would say if they actually saw you. Say that shit about someone, like. But it's estimated that between 1877 and 1950, and I looked up this stat, it was 4,430 people were beaten, tortured, burned alive, drowned, attacked in the street. Move. Alright, go on then, you're getting lazy. By lynch mobs. You know, mobs of white people, you know. Like, when you see that, you know, like children of any ethnicity being attacked and dehumanised in such a way, that has a fucking impact on you. And, oh, it's fucking horrible. So I acknowledge, like, marginalising a group leads to hatred, you know, it does, of course it does. But there's also antisocial behaviours in people to begin with, of all shapes and sizes, and you know, white people. Like, there's Irish people, I talked about them. Like, there's a lot of tension between white Irish people and North African Arabs in my school, and both of them were responsible for knife crime, both. No one was innocent. They both had plenty of their own shit that they were doing, you know. They were as guilty as each other, from what I could see. And then that obviously got racial between the Irish scumbags and the Arab scumbags. Both were as bad as each other. I'm not blaming one group or the other, but I'm saying I don't think one group is solely responsible. I think it's an attitude problem around the world where young men, let's face it, mostly it's young men. There are young women that are scumbags too, but I've only experienced it with young men, really, where they think it's okay to go around carrying a dangerous weapon in a gang and attacking a young person if they've got beef with them. They also brag about it. Their attitude is, it's okay for me to do this. And there is fuck all deterrent from them doing it. And their name is protected in the media as well, in most cases. I still don't know the name of that Algerian man that attacked all those kids, though I'm sure. It's probably been released now, but that fucker deserves the worst possible punishment you can imagine. What a fucking scumbag. The type of crime in Ireland has changed. You know, there's always been violence, there's always been drug problems. Like my dad talked about the heroin epidemic, which is still in Ireland, but cocaine seems to have taken over big time. And I see it myself whenever I'm on a night out in Dublin, which is rare these days because of just how tense I feel. There are cokeheads everywhere. I remember before I was going to the living room in O'Connell Street, and the line for the jacks for people doing coke was much longer than anyone actually going to the toilet. And people were going in twos to do it. That's how open it is. And you have a case where people are comfortable using a dangerous weapon. There's no deterrent. People don't punish them harshly enough at all in Ireland. And I can speak on behalf of Ireland for this. I've seen it. They don't punish them harshly enough at all. They think it's cool to take drugs. Everybody else around them takes drugs. They think it's okay for 6 of their mates to batter one fella and that they're hard and they're cool. This gang culture. And London, Jesus, I remember being in London, and this was over 10 years ago, and seeing lads carrying big machetes around, and people have filmed lads just wandering in the middle of the street talking to themselves, obviously mentally ill. Look, a lot of times that's schizophrenia, that's a common sign. My heart goes out to anyone suffering with mental illness, and it does. And you just, people who attack someone like that are mentally ill, no denying it, but there's only so much sympathy that I'll give, when that happens. We need to fucking stop it from happening. Social workers, police officers, teachers, parents. If you think that that's okay for your child to do that, you're a fucking terrible parent. And I'm not a parent myself, but I don't think you need to be a parent to say that that's bad parenting. I had to go into Dublin 1 for work. My brother worked in Talbot Street, which is very dangerous. Abbey Street, Talbot Street, O'Connell Street, Parnell Square, where that terrible incident happened to those poor children. Thankfully one of them's recovering now, but sorry, I would say we're not doing enough to deter people from carrying out these acts. And as I've said before, I know that there are bad people in Ireland. There's a lot of them, and the Gardaí Síochána, I know they've got a tough job. I appreciate that, especially with the lack of recruitment. But you have to ask, why does nobody want to be a guard? Ask why they don't, because they don't see why they would put themselves in that risk when they've no authority to do anything. They're more likely to get fucking sued. The amount of guards that get brought to court, and the amount of paperwork. And then if you look at poor Maurice McCabe, who actually called out bullshit in the police in Cavan, he was actually, his life was made a living hell by other guards. He was talking about guards being drunk while driving, soliciting prostitutes, as it is, going off with prostitutes, taking drugs themselves, which does happen. You see it in documentaries about the police all the time. The ones who are seizing the drugs are also taking them. And sure, it's not that hard to believe, because lawyers are known for their use of cocaine, because they do long hours at work. It's ironic that they'll prosecute people on drugs charges while they're the biggest cokeheads going. We've gotten so much wrong. We really have. So we've got less people wanting to go into the police force. We've got more people getting involved in petty crime, which will escalate. You can guarantee it'll escalate. Starts with burglaries, theft, arsons, and then it could progress to murder. These are the warning signs. When I talk about Karl Panzram all the time, he showed so many fucking warning signs, and rather than meeting with harsh, cruel punishment, which only made him worse, we should have a middle ground, and I call it cautious kindness, which I've said before, where you acknowledge the person as being through shit, you try and reach out to them, treat them with a bit of kindness and respect, but you also let them know what you've done is unacceptable, and this happens again, you've been warned, do it again, and there will be punishment, there is consequences to your actions. But beating the living daylights out of someone who was violent to begin with is only going to further add to their aggression, their hatred for humanity, and more violence. But also pussyfooting around and going, oh well, it's his first offence, it's his second offence, there was no real danger to anybody. If there's a dangerous weapon in a person's hands in a school, that is potential for serious violence and death, and we've fucking seen that, and it needs to fucking stop. It's disgraceful. People are just, they've free reign to do whatever they want, and even if they do get prosecuted, they know they're only going to get a slight sentence. We need to do more. It's getting out of hand, you know. Stay safe, guys, look after yourselves, and slán go fáil. I'll see you in the next one. Just a prayer for Harvey Williams, who, poor lad, 15 years old in Sheffield, lost his life. That's fucking horrible. That's terrible. That shouldn't have happened. They had plenty of opportunity to intervene. There were scumbag young fellas bringing weapons into school, and they were allowed to do it, and then it got out of hand, and a poor lad has lost his life. That family's life will never be the same again. That's the fucking reality of not dealing with this situation. Oh.